In this lecture, we'll walk through writing an application that involves lists. What we're going to do in this lecture is actually just do a big coding example. So we've been talking about how to do stuff with lists. So we're going to do a pretty large application example of using lists. So the idea with this program we're going to write is we're going to let the user enter the name, the hours, and the pay rate for employees. And we're going to add each of these employees to a list and then include them to a combo box. We can then select a person and compute the salary for that person. So we're going to break this up into a couple parts here. The first thing we need to do is to create the actual project. So in Visual Studio, we'll click on New Project. And then make sure we have Visual Basic selected, Windows Forms Application. And then I'm going to call this List Salary Application. If you want to call it something else, that's fine. But this is what I'm going to use. We'll click OK. All right, here we go. And I'm going to start by adding a couple of the tools in here first. So what we're going to do is we're first going to give the opportunity for the user to enter stuff. So we need a couple of labels. So I'm going to have 3 labels. Let's see here. All right, there's 3 labels. And I'm going to put them right about, let's see, almost here. Maybe right about, this looks pretty good. And then try to keep it nice and even with each other. That's pretty close. Okay, now I'm going to change the text of these labels. So for label 1, we're going to let the user enter the name and put a colon. Okay, and then here we're going to change this to enter hours and then add a colon. And then for the third one, we'll have the user enter the pay rate. Now, for the labels, everything is left aligned, but I'd actually like to have it right aligned. That way, we can put the text boxes next to them and they would be left aligned. So we can actually go to text align and we can change this. Let's see here. I think this is how we do it. We can change it to top right. Nope, that didn't do it. No, what we need to do, let me see here. So we need to change the alignment of the text to make this work right. Actually, the way we'll do this is we're just going to move this around a little bit. So there we go. That works a little bit better. All right. Yeah, that looks better. Text align didn't seem to work as well as I had hoped. I think that just modifies the where the text is aligned with respect to the box, but doesn't actually move it. But that works. Okay. So now we'll add the text boxes. So let's go to text box. Okay. So we're going to put it right about here. Let's see how that looks. That's pretty good. Try to get the spacing here looking right. So I might need to adjust this a little bit. All right. That's pretty good. Okay. Now we're going to give names for these text boxes. So let's go down here. We're going to call this TB name. We'll call this one TB hours. And then we'll call this one TB rate. All right. So now what we'll do is we're going to include another button where when the user enters the name, the hours, and the pay rate, that will allow us to add the employee to our combo box. So we're going to create a button. So let's find our button tool. And we're going to put that down right about here is pretty good. And we're going to call this BT add. And we're going to change the text for this to add employee. So we need to make the button a little bit bigger. That's pretty good. So let's get this aligned properly. All right, that works. And then we need a combo box. So there we go. And we're gonna put it right here. All right. And then we're going to call this, let's see, well, let's call it, let's find the name here. We'll call it CB employee. Okay. Yep, that works. All right. So that looks pretty good so far. So can I add a little separation? Nah, this is fine. All right, so we got our form pretty much set up. So now what I want to do is write some code that will allow us to store the names, the hours, and rate of all the employees. So we're going to need a couple things to make this work. So let's go into our form here, or our code for it. The first thing we're going to do is create a structure that's going to store several parts of the employee. So we're going to make this global. Usually a good idea to do that anyway. So remember, the way we create a structure is to do public structure, and we're going to call it employee. And then we need a couple things in here. So we need to be able to store the name. So we'll do public name as string, and then public pay rate as double. Then we need public hours as double. And I'm also going to include a salary because we're going to compute the salary in a little bit. So we'll go ahead and include it in here now. So we'll do public salary as double. All right. So there is our structure. And then we also need a list of employees. And I'm going to make this global as well because we're going to be creating several subs that use this list. So remember, the way we create a list is we're going to have dim. Then the name of the list, I'm going to call it employee list. And we say as list, and then parentheses, we'll say of. And this is going to be of the structure employee, because we're going to have a list of employees. So we'll say employee. And then we set that equal to new list of employee. Okay, so far so good. So now what we need to do is actually a couple things. So we're going to go ahead and create a method that's going to handle adding the employee to the list. Now I could include this in the method that handles clicking on the button, but what we're going to see is we're going to do several things in there. And I think it's going to be easier if we just create our own method that handles it, and then we can have the button click call the method. So I'm going to put this down here. So what we're going to do is we'll say private sub. I'm going to call this add employee, and we're going to have a couple of parameters in here. So the way we'll do this is we're going to have we'll make these by val parameters. So we'll do n as string, so that's going to be the name, and then by val p as double, and then we'll do by val h as double. I could do this without having the word by val, but it's just a good habit to specify whether it's a by value or by reference parameter. But okay, so we got our sub started up, and what we're going to do is whenever we add an employee to our list, we need to create a new employee, store the information in here that has the name, the pay rate, and the hours, and we add it to our list. So to do that is we're going to create a new employee. So I'm going to call it temp as employee, and then we're going to say temp dot name equals n. So remember, to access a member of the structure, we'd have the name of it, then a dot. So then we'll do temp dot pay rate equals the equals p. And then we're going to do temp dot hours and set that equal to H. So now we got, now we don't have anything in the salary yet. We can initialize it. So we can do temp dot salary equals 0 because we don't know the salary of the employee at this point. So we'll just go ahead and put it at 0. And then finally, we need to add this employee to our list. So the way we do that is we would have employee list dot add, and we put in our employee. So that will take care of adding an employee to the list. But we can't do that yet. If I were to run the program, in fact, I'll go ahead and run it and show you. This really doesn't do anything. Like if I click on this, we haven't actually defined what to do here yet. So let's go back in here, and I'm going to double click on the button. And now we can actually handle the whole process of adding an employee to the list and adding it to our combo box. So the first thing we need to do is to extract the values that were entered in the text boxes. So we're going to create a couple of variables for that. So we're going to do dim name as string, and we're going to set it equal to, so we did what, tb name dot text. Move the cursor over so you can see it. All right, so then we'll do the pay rates. We'll do pay as double, and we're going to use the val method to give us that result. So we're going to do tb rate dot text, and then dim hours as double equals val, and then we'll do tb hours dot text. Okay. So that gives us the values here. And then what we're going to do is, yeah, I know that we can compute the salary at this point, but we're going to do that a little bit later. I want to show a couple more tricks with the lists. So while we can compute the salary and we could modify the code here to add the salary to it, we're going to hold off on that just yet. So just trust me, we'll get there. So we got the name, the pay, and the hours. So we can go ahead and add the employee to our list. So we'll call the add employee method. So we're going to pass name, pay, and hours. Okay. And let's just go ahead and include a message box to show that it did work. So we'll do message box. And I'm going to say that the name, and I'm going to concatenate a string that says has been added. That way we know that the employee has been added to our list of employees. And then what we'll do is we'll do a couple things. Next thing we'll do is clear the contents of our text boxes because we don't need to keep those values anymore. So I'm going to say tb name dot clear, and then I'm going to do tb rate. Yeah, tb rate. I don't know what I was thinking. Dot clear, and then tb hours dot clear. So we've cleared the text boxes. And then finally, we need to update our combo box. Now, the way we update our combo box or add stuff to it is we're going to clear everything that's currently in the combo box. So initially, there won't be anything in there, but as we add more employees, we'll have some stuff in there. So we're going to initialize our combo box to be clear. So we'll do cb employee, and then we're going to do dot items dot clear. So that just clears all of the items in the combo box. And then what we're going to do is just for each employee in our list, we'll add it to our combo box. So we're going to do for each, then I'm going to say item in employee list. Let's scroll this down a little bit. And we see that we have the next here given to us automatically. I'm just going to put a next item just because that's kind of our habit. But as we mentioned before, we don't necessarily have to have the word item in there, but I'm just going to do it since we're used to it. So we're going to do cb employee dot items dot add, and then we put in the we'll do just the names of the items in the list. So we'll do item dot name. All right, and that should take care of everything for adding all the employees. So let's go ahead and start this up, and just to make sure that this works, So let's put in a couple people. Let's do Matt, and maybe the person worked 40 hours for like $10 an hour. That's not bad. We'll click on add employee. Matt has been added, so let's check the box here. Sure enough, there's Matt. Okay, so let's enter another name. Let's say Peter, and maybe this person worked 35 hours and got paid more, $15 an hour. So we'll add employee. Peter has been added, so we can check our list. All right, we have 2 people there. Let's do one more. Let's say Joe. And maybe they worked 45 hours and got paid $12.50. So we'll add the employee. So we see that Joe's on here. Now I can click on these, and the combo box doesn't do anything just yet, but at least we see here that we can enter in names in our we can enter names in our text boxes. We can click on add employee and add them to our combo box. So that's how we would add all that.